In 1980, when we didn't have these technologies, the background radiation was 0.005 microwatts, that's millionth of a watt per centimeter squared. That's an exposure power level. Today it's 0.4 to 100 microwatts, and that's an increase between 1,000 and 20,000 times. In the last 30 years, we're living in roughly 1,000 to 20,000 more all-encompassing Wi-Fi in all parts of the spectrum, but especially where cell phones operate, which is about 1.7 gigahertz to 1.8 gigahertz. In Europe, it's around 2 and 1.8 gigahertz. And then you have your microwave Wi-Fi, which operates at 2.45 gigahertz, same as your microwave oven. So with this, we are now going to add the next level from your houses, transmitting not only when you want them, day, when you use your cell phone or your Wi-Fi network, but day and night. The same as people who just leave their Wi-Fi on and basically transmit it to their neighbors all day and all night long as electropollution. It's called electrosmog. I'll show you that there are consequences of this to our genetic code, to our DNA. Microwave effects are slow, they're cumulative. It's something that will show the results in maybe 10, 15 years. That's why we haven't had the studies yet, because this technology has been rolled out in a wide scale only since the late 1990s. So prevention is the key. But already in 1977, Paul Brodeur, who was an investigative reporter for New Yorker magazine, and he wrote several books, and I would like you to remember his name. He wrote a book in 1977 called The Zapping of America. And that was long before we introduced the modern technology of Wi-Fi. This was microwaves that were being used after the Second World War, and those towers, those discs, to transmit television signal across countries so we could have simulcast from NBC and CBS. Okay, and he described the military's interest because military uses microwave for communication and for radar, that's even higher frequencies. And already in 60s and 70s, the dangers were known. In fact, this made big headlines in the 60s when they found that the Russian people were, or the government there, were irradiating the Moscow American Embassy, the American Embassy in the city of Moscow, and people started getting sick. And so they had a covert program to study all of this, and that's when they found out the effects of microwaves. So there were many radar systems that wanted to be installed, and he talks all about that. I've read many, many books on this subject. These are 8 I would recommend to you, and I want to mention some names. Robert Becker here wrote The Body Electric. He studied this for the military and for the governments. He also alerted people in New York State about electrical power transmission line problems, increased leukemia for children, and so forth. Other books here are more popular, by Ellen Sugarman, called Warning, Electromagnetic Fields May Be Dangerous to Your Health. The British book, The Power Watch Handbook, just arrived this year by Samuel Millam, the book called Dirty Electricity. He's an epidemiologist who studied this, and I'll talk more about that as the talk goes on. And here's Paul Brodeur's book, Currents of Death. The Cell Tower Symposium that was held under the auspices in the East by Blake Levitt, who also wrote the book Electromagnetic Fields. So there you can educate yourself on the dangers, both low frequencies, living your power lines, and on higher frequencies. But today we're going to talk more about microwaves. I was just asked to announce here that the silver Honda CR-V with puka shells hanging from the has the lights on. So for those you don't want your car to lose power. Something happened to our freedom in 1998, and I think you need 1996, and that was called the passage of the Telecommunications Act. And I want you to understand that this country has not done any more research on microwave emissions and microwave effects on health since the mid-90s, very conveniently just before the Telecommunications Act was passed. And that act, I want to just read you section 704 from that act. It says, no state or local government or instrumentality thereof may regulate the placement, construction, or modification of personal wireless service facilities on the basis of environmental effects. That also means health effects of radio frequency emissions to the extent that such facilities comply with the Commission's regulations concerning such facilities. In other words, if you want to have a cell tower put up in Santa Cruz or any other city, you cannot stop it. The federal government forbids it, and that's why they've been rolled out. You know, the only way it's been able to be stopped to have cell towers installed is people have pressured the people who get money from having that cell tower on their facility, being pressured to basically not have a contract anymore, or if they had aesthetic grounds, and Clinton actually, President Clinton passed, I think it was an executive order to say, please don't put these on schools and hospitals, it's not good for our health.
Doesn't the property have to be zoned commercial?
I think that it might have to be zoned commercial. I'm not sure about the details, but in either case, it's been extremely hard to stop cell towers from being put up as long as they said we need more coverage. So let's talk about smart meters. That's what we're here for. So here is an example of the old-fashioned meter. It uses a kind of inductive system, didn't use any power, and here's a smart meter. This smart meter communicates back and forth through just over 900 megahertz radiation. It also has an internal facility to communicate in a home area network at around 2.45 gigahertz, like your Wi-Fi, so all your appliances can talk to it. All these from different houses pass through your smart meter, as we've heard. So not just are you sending your information, you're sending all your neighbors' information through your meter all the time, 24/7. And here is an access point on top of a utility pole that sends out twice as much radiation, that collects the data and relays it to PG&E. Also on your gas meter, you have the old-fashioned gas meter. Here is the smart gas meter, which is one-way communication to this meter so it can talk to it and communicate about your gas usage. Again, the health effects of these have not been studied. What do you think is the cumulative effect if you're living in an apartment building like this and they're all transmitting simultaneously and you happen to have your bedroom on the other side of that? It's a question that should be evaluated, I believe, for health purposes. Increasing numbers of customers of PG&E are reporting headaches, sleep problems, ringing in the ears, searing head pain or ear pains, nausea, dizziness, agitation, depression, other symptoms since the meters were installed. Some of these people who are electrically sensitive, and I'll talk about these people specifically because it's not everybody who complains. Many people, in fact, the majority of people are not electrically sensitive. But these people who complain may be suffering what's called electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome. It's also called L allergy or electrical allergy, and it's estimated to affect between 3 and 5% of the population in Europe, probably also in America, where it hasn't been studied so well, and that number is growing. This condition, which is also called idiopathic, meaning we don't know what is causing it, idiopathic environmental intolerance, is now recognized by the World Health Organization as a condition. So if you just think of people walking down the street, 1 in 3 or 1 in 5 may be actually affected by this. In Germany, where I'm from originally, and I don't have a political stake in this directly. I can't vote in this country. I'm a Canadian citizen here at the good graces of the American government as a permanent resident. So in that way, I'm neutral. I can't influence legislatures. I don't choose to, but I choose to educate people on the scientific knowledge about these things. So this is what Liebrecht from Klitzing, at Medical University of Lübeck, Germany, has found. He said some people become ill at power density levels of 10 nanowatts per square centimeter. 10 nanowatts is 10 billionth of a watt, very, very low level. And small children can be sensitive to some emitters at levels of 1 nanowatt. That's 1 billionth of a watt. And a watt is not very powerful. Your night light puts out about 4 watts, okay? Your body emits about 60 watts of energy. That's why the room gets hot here. So these are very, very small amounts, yet people are sensitive to them. And our standard, the frequencies we're talking about, is 100,000 times higher. It's basically 1,000 microwatts. That's 1,000 millionth of a watt, or